Hey people, I've been reading in this Woman and the Dragon. I got the first 3 lines in the past couple of movies, but it's about the man on the beach, and he sees a woman. She had a tattoo in the place of, where on her vagina. You know, heaven, a woman is her vagina. She had she was wearing nothing but a tattoo on her vagina, and parableming of the helium oil, the suntan lotion. She was wearing nothing but a tattoo and tanning oil. And she was selling a poke at a taco puta. You know, a poke at a backwards taco puta. And that's Spanish for snatch, a taco puta. Tin potted in a puta, and then move the T over TN, the tin. And then the D is the D or the TH. And it's the tin pot. You know, out there panhandling, tin potted. And so his wife says something about it, you know. Oh, she kind of dark skinned over there, ain't she? She's a little darker skinned than the Stefanos. And so what it's talking about here is in these constellations here. You know, this sits under Virgo. You can see the star of Leo's heart here, and Spica, you know, Virgo. And this is Osea Atu, the long-eared owl. And it's a starting point. You know, when you got a full moon here, you know that the sun is in the rat. And every 60 years, you know, it'll come back to the same place. It'll adjust every year when the sun gets back to the rat. And thus you have, you know, 5 different rats. But this serpent here is called Hydra. You can see the Drak in there. So the Christians all see this book of Revelations as an ancient written prophecy of the end times. But when I read it, it's all written as if this had already happened. And after reading the next chapter, I'm a firm believer that they're just using this as a playbook. You know, they're placing these stories in the news to fuck with your head. So all these words have double meanings, and it's called syntax. And the only reason I know that word is because Gary sent me a link to a 9-hour-long movie yesterday. And dude's really smart, and he's explaining all the syntax that's used. But this syntax has several meanings. But of in the gastry, as in backwards, as watch, W-O-C-H, to watch each whose. In the gastry, to watch each whose. To craze they. As Juanita dino us. As Juanita, the long-time married, powers us. Powers USA. But in the gastry is watch. I mean, he's back there on the back watching. You know, in the gastry is everywhere it goes from in and all the way down till it comes out, you know, it's along the gastry. So he's telling a story of the stars as if it was alive on the beach. And so after the wife says something, you know, Poppet comes back and says, hey, all of los come ion, all of those come ion in the place of my tattoo. In my megasporos, you know, in my D rack on megasporos, notch each on, give the phallus septa. The septa is not just the 7, but it's the sword. Your sword is your 7, your septa, the Z. The phallus septa top, who give a rat-a-tat. You know, the D is the TH also. He'll give a rat-a-tat. And so Rata is 1, you know, is the first, the Rata, Romeo, the Romeo flag, the R, the Rata, to give a Rata, and then a tack is 0, to give the 1 0 is where they're getting this 10 from. But it's, you know, she's saying, my megasporos, my spuros, a spur, something to get attention, a protrusion, a spur. My megasporos notch each on, and I put the old rat-a-tat on him, you know, And don't piss me off, or I might even give him the rat-a-tat-tat, 100 times. What he do would rack on Megasporos, Nachi-chan give phallus, the septatop, septatp, the septatop who give the rat-a-tat, put the rat-a-tat on him. And the tail of him drags. It's talking about the tail of the dragon here. And so the tail is WH, which, and then O. This tells you to read it the other way, OAR, which the or wear, OARWR, which the or wear, the tail. The place of the or is at the tail, which the or wear, where you row your way, and so a prostitute, her oar is her tail, is how she rows her way. And so which or where, W-R-A, it's the same spelling in Hebrew for where. It means to connect the first knowledge. You have to know where you are. And so which of the or connect the first knowledge is on the tail. Which of the or where, avot, A-V-A-O-T, avot, what of, V-A-O-T is the plural form of vaco, to furrow, trench cut in the soil, the crack of her ass, vot. That tail sure is looking good. I really avot to. And so avot what of, in the or where, avot what of, sure they too. And so this is to try it on or tutor it on. The sure they tutor it on. Tell them how to do it. They're new at this. The tutor it on taughten, T-O-T-N. The tutor on taughten, nor. Nor means the light. Nor it sester nor it saster on. The light it saster on. Two, and then V-O. This last V grabs O. V-O, and then O. Voo. To voo-voon-a-roo, run of. To the voo-voon-a-roo, run of. Voo-voon-a-roo, run of means in the ass. Done pulled a train on her. The voo, V-O-O, means the evil. A voon, V, and then tells you grab that last O, O-N, voon. The voon is the house, the dwelling, the place of. The evil place of Aru. Aru is a rear, to the rear. The Aru, the tail of the Ru, run of. Up the ass. And blade, the N-E turns into the B. It's a blade. And a blade means the same thing as a voo, voon, or roo, run of. Billy Crystal's character says a blade meant to bluff or a lie. But slang defines says it's when one's anus is bleeding from continual anal sex. The blade balling. And so this is also, in lab, to shoot dimensions, the ball in, the planets. And then this word, it changes. It's a little bit different every time. They'll always just give it them, him, of him, them, it, as they'll give this word. But it's as vatu. Vatu is where your word vote comes from, vatu, and it means to wish. Vatu, a vow or a vote, from the vadum, is what I wish. The voo, aru, run of, and blabbable, in talking to all your friends, and blabbable in as wish what to a size is then jiggin, GHG and jiggin, Jiggin is back in return, running against meeting encounter. The Voo-Voonaroo run of. And this could be read as UV of lavable. Lav is to wash, washable. Of washable in as wish to assize this. To assize this is, to size something up, to look at it and make a decision. To size this, then jigging. And so this jigging, it's not the earth. It means retrograde, when it's backing up is the retrograde. And this is the new mark, for retrograde. It looks like our drugs. And it's either the same or real similar to the old symbol for revolution. You'll see it here, this old Italian. But when they didn't have room enough to write the revolucaio, the revolutions, they just symbolize it with this little RX here. And it means the revolutions of Luna, of the moon, in 27. Revolution of Mercury in 70. The revolution of the sun, 365. And so the ancient word for drugs was also, from the rear, blowing smoke up your ass. Retrograde. So I'm not recommending anybody stick anything up your ass. And if I ever did, I would never tell anybody anyway. But your mind does open up more as you get older. But I know better ways to do my drugs. But who am I to say if I've never tried it? So here it's end of the Dracones. The Dracones. The Drakons, the Dracones, there's Draconian, the Draconian law. And the Dragons, THLN. And the Dragon's telling, the Dragon's tail, what he's talking, the tail of the dragon. Because we all know there's no such thing as dragons. It's a tail. And so the Dragon's tail, and then it's TELE, is the tell. A tell is a telephone, from a distance. The dragon's tell. You can tell when the dragon's coming, from the distance. NEB is in coats. And the dragon's tail in coats. Tail in coats, which way? Is he wearing a red coat or a blue coat? In coats. And the know if of. Know if of, the NE turns into the B or the V, OV of. The know if of, no peon. If you listen to the dragon's tail, you can tell whether he's a peon or not, because these are poets talking. These are storytellers. And listen to the dragon's tail. The coats in know if. In no peon, if he's no peon, if he can hold up in the rap. That is THTS. That is Gunna Yackos. Yackos. Oh, girls be yakking. So this isn't woman, but that is gonna talk. Gonna yak as. Gonna talk as that. And then the S goes over here. The smell of says. What a woman is being about is she's all about the smell. If the dragons tell in coats, the know if on no peon, if he got a good story, that's gonna yak as that smell of says. That the woman being about, they're all about the smell. If you don't smell right, you ain't getting none. The smell of says Tellyen. The Tellyen, the TELYEN. The Tellyen. And the television, the telephone, from a distance, to know from a distance. In any oughtn not of. In any oughtn not of. O-T-A-N, oughtn, A-T, ought to not of. Something you really ought to not to do. You know, Aten, that was a god in Egypt, and it wasn't a god. It was the god of what you can and what you can't. And you really ought to not of do that. And all those pictures in gods are words. Gods are words. They're a way to express words that you can't write. You know, words that you can't show in a picture. You know, you can't show thoughts. So you put a crown over their head to show the thought. You know, the word is a thought. And in any oughtn not of take helped, H-L-T. It ought not take helped it to taken on. As is to this codiphage. You know, according to the page, gap at take. You know, come back and get the H at the end. According to the page, a gap at take. You know, a page has been ripped out of the book. You know, that page is missing. A lot of pages are missing in the book. And that's what he's talking about here. You know, there's a bunch of pages been ripped out your Old Testament. Way back 2,000 years ago, they was removing pages. Kata, according to the page, gap, a take. The gap, a take. But it's also, you know, according to kata fag. According to the fagage. The fagage of at take. The syntax. There's different meanings for these words. And the genius of these poets, you know, they put all the meanings in the same line. So in the Hebrew and the Greek, you know, it's the same language. It's just different writing styles. They use a lot of the same words. You know, the or. This is the first day when God said, let there be light. That's the word, is the or, the aura. And which or whereof ought what of. Sure they tutor it on taughten, nor its aster on to voon run of laughable, of washable, as vatu, as wish to a size, to us S-E-S-I-S, to a size is, then jigging, then returning, then jigging. And so jigging is the planets that all go around and they each spend time in the houses and the stars, you know, and then jigging. And so jigging is when the planet stops and retrogrades and goes backward in a house, the jigging. And of the Drakon, his tail in coats, no if of no peon, that's gonna yak O's. That's gonna jack O's. When you're getting it just right, she said, oh, you know, and you're jacking O's. You're creating those O's. Gonna jack O's. And so oi and O's are a couple words used a lot in here. And so oying, you know, is the act of. You're oying. And the jack O's, you know, is what's coming out of her. You're jacking O's. Gonna jack O's. That smell of says tell they in any ought not of take helped to taken on as is to this according to faggage of a take. So this story goes on about the argument between the women, and then it turns into a jello fight where all the guys are standing around waiting for a titty to flop out. And in the end, he gets with the dragon, and she teaches him about the Ruaru, who's called the devil. And I'll get more into this, and I'll put them all in a folder. But I need to get back here to Revelation 8, where I promised I was going to read this of row, row, row your boat. And this is where it's and they call this Ove. The Hebrews call this Ove. and that's because they don't know how to read this. But it's reading the O and then the I, oi, oi, and then A-W-A-Y, oi away, oi away, oi away. And so that's what the old Nordic sailors, when you're rowing the boat, you oi away, oi away. And when you're hitting that ass, you oi away, whoa, 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 to those dwelling of your dwelling place in your boat. So I'll get on this in the next one.
Don't forget, hooty hoot, hooty hoot. I won't forget.
Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.